All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
Good evening, everyone.
Man, listen, this market has been, you know what interests me? Like the IWM move. Like I've been thinking about it all week. I was like, when the year started, I was like, I'm definitely gonna get some leaps with IWM, and that thing didn't even wait for me, man. It's just like, nope, we're just gonna go get it all time high. I mean, I think you talk about that a lot. We're gonna talk a little bit about it here. It's like we're seeing a broader participation of the market now. Like you see the
Correct.
SPX is hitting ES and all that is hitting like all time high. It's not just from technology. Everybody is participating now. You know what I mean? I know your favorite thing to look at is the RSP. Like go look at the RSP. You can kind of see like the market kind of participating in all that stuff. But overall, man, we have seen some really really great move this week. Money flowing into the market. Like I say, IWM hitting the all-time high. Small caps are participating. Tech is participating. So, man, let's do a quick recap, man, of the week. What you see, what you thought.
Yeah, so this week, and I know we talked about this late last year when we kind of said, okay, we're in a possibly entering a rate cutting cycle now, right, with the Fed,
Mhm.
and that small caps who have been lagging for only God knows how long have now started to catch their stride. And this week, small caps Russell 2000 was up almost 5% this week, while the rest of the market was up roughly about 1%.
Right.
Whenever you see a rally led by small caps, to me, I can trust it, right? You can also trust a rally where you see a lot of broader participation, not just led by the Magnificent Seven stocks. Now, Google did hit an all time high this week, which was good. But if you look at all of the other bigger names, they didn't really do much,
Right.
but the market was still pretty um, durable, you know? And with all of the noise that we've seen with Venezuela and this and that, the market just kind of ignored it. And we've kind of, again, we've seen this when we, every single global conflict we've seen over the last, what, 3 or 4 or 5 years, the market has basically just
Market
shrugged it off.
ignores it. Yep.
So I am bullish on the market, but I am more bullish in areas of the market that have lagged over the last couple of months. So small caps, some of the defensive names. Now, we
Yep.
saw a big rebound within the housing stocks today after they got smacked when Trump said he wanted to take institutions away from buying single family
Single
homes.
family homes. Yep.
Then he said he wanted to drive interest rates down by buying a bunch of mortgage-backed securities. And you see some of these stock names like Lennar and all of the home builders were up like 8, 5, 6, 7%.
They came back. Yeah.
So they came back. So I don't know if he said that because somebody called him and was like, "What the heck are you doing? Like you hurt, you hurting our stocks." I don't know if he got a phone call or what happened,
You
but
know he probably did, man.
he kind of just changed his tune and said he wants to bring rates down by buying mortgage-backed securities. So again, all of these promises that we've been hearing until things come into fruition, to me, it's just all noise. But yeah, another solid week for the markets in 2026. So
Yep.
I'm really happy with what I've seen so far.
Yep. And like you said, man, I'm kind of like intrigued by how the market is very selective these days about which information to pay attention to, which ones to not pay attention to. Like, with the global stuff that was happening, we saw oil stock kind of like pop up a little bit, but they kind of like cool down a little bit also. So we haven't really seen a lot in when it comes to like global news kind of impact in the market. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and I just heard like Donald Trump was talking about not Denmark, what is it called? Greenland.
Hmm.
So Greenland now is becoming very strategic. I know in the past when he was talking about it, people were laughing about it, but I think this whole Venezuela thing kind of like give him like more assurance that they can go out and do certain more of those overthrowing the government basically of any country they want.
So from what I understand with Greenland, they are a territory that's run by Denmark, and I don't think that they can go in there and like take it the way they did Venezuela, because from what I was told, I think Greenland is protected by NATO.
Mm.
So I don't think that he can go in there and start like,
Bro,
dropping
I don't
artillery.
think I don't think Donald cares about NATO.
That would be a crazy move if he did that. Now, if he wants to buy Greenland from Denmark, maybe he can. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean, the way he talked about it is like we can do it the nice way, we can do it the hard way. So I don't know what the hard way means.
yeah, yeah. See,
So
that's I
all,
I couldn't tell you.
all I know is it's there's gonna be definitely strategic moves like to get places like that to join the US and all this stuff. So it's like again, we have seen this happen with like the wars of last year. The Ukrainian war, the Ukrainian and Russian war, that kind of didn't impact the market. We saw the Israeli and Palestinian war, that didn't impact the market. So it's like the market is very, very, very selective when it comes to which news actually impacted. On the other hand, you can get Donald Trump on the news to say something, you know, as silly as I don't like this stock, and the whole market just goes crazy. You understand what I'm saying? It's like so what I'm saying is like you have to be very intentional and be very careful when you hear the news. Also, not necessarily don't take into account, but also like know exactly what are trigger words that can happen. You know what I mean? So that goes back to the housing thing. It was like he says one thing, the housing stock drop, and then he says one thing and he goes back up. So again, market is very selective on what to pay attention to. But
There is power in the tongue.
there's this. It is crazy, man. It's like one word. You just like the whole market just react to it. But
Correct.
let's move on to the job report, man. The U.S. numbers kind of released this week. U.S. employers added about 50,000 jobs in December, which is below the expectation of about 70 to $73,000. So unemployment rate surprisingly ticked down to like 4.4%. It's still high. I mean, we didn't go far. We
Yeah.
maybe like at 4.5%, 4.6 last month, but we kind of went down a little bit. But again, job creation has slowed dramatically. Like if you look at
Correct.
employment gains in 2025, we were about like maybe 584,000, far lower than the $2 million that we added in 2024. 2024 was like we added a lot of jobs. 2025, quarter of that. You know what I mean? So again, the slowdown, how does that affect the Fed? How does that affect like the rate cuts and all these different things? So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so before I get into that, I saw a crazy statistic from I think it was either New York Times or New York Post, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I just saw the information. Unemployment rate amongst recent college grads is 41.8%,
Jeez.
which is ridiculous.
Crazy.
So with unemployment ticking down, but job creation slowing, I'm on the fence as far as what the Fed is going to do on the 28th. I want to say that they might hold rates. That's where my gut is inkling that they're probably going to hold rates.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they cut this month and then they hold in September. I'm still trying to figure out whether we're up to date on all the data because that
Yeah, with
whole
the whole
government
shutdown.
shutdown kind of
Yep.
just like threw me off.
Yep.
So I'm on the fence as far as how aggressive the Fed will be when it comes to, um, when it comes to cutting rates. So I'm kind of in a neutral zone. I think they're going to hold, but for right now, you know, December is usually a slow month for jobs growth, I would assume anyway, because that's why the projections were kind of low compared to other months. So, you know, I'm really not sure what they're going to do on the 28th, but I want to say that they're going to hold. So, especially after they just cut, was that in what, December? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that they're going to hold rates where they are for now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like it's almost like the unemployment and employment creation and unemployment they kind of like going sideways, right? It's like it's not really
Yeah,
ticking up, it's
exactly.
not really going down. It's like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
just basing. So again, like you said, the Fed might just sit on the sideline and kind of watch things. It's like it's not really pulling them in either direction. So they might just be like, nothing is really giving us a clear indication which direction we should go, basically.
Exactly. And if you look at how the Fed has been, they're more of a wait and see, let's be cautious approach, right?
Mm-hmm,
They don't like to jump the gun because again, I think that whole transitory thing just kind of shook the entire federal committee and they just want to make sure they don't lose credibility and
yep,
they don't want to get anything wrong. So they're like, okay, let's choose the lesser of two evils.
yep,
If we have to hold and just wait, that's better than making the wrong decision at the wrong time. So, I think that
Absolutely.
I think that that's how they're sort of gauging their movement right now, which is understandable. So
Mhm, mhm. Again, the Fed, mandate is to keep unemployment rate at a specific rate. So we got to keep an eye on that and see where things go from here. But again, it's this year is going to be a big year for employment stuff because now we're going to actually see how the AI actually impact unemployment. Technology
mm,
that's all kind of we've been talking about all this time. I think right now in the next year or two, we're gonna actually really see, and that's really concerning that new grad 40%. That's a high number. Like that's damn
yeah,
near like 50% of everybody who's graduating doesn't have a job that whether they're in their field or don't have a job. Period. You know, so that's a little scary. So
yeah,
again, it's the reality that we're in right now. So yeah. Um,
yeah.
let's move on to OKLO, man. I mean, I feel like OKLO just always end up in the news, man. So again, the OKLO and Meta just formed a partnership in Ohio. Man, it's like it's ridiculous, man. So OKLO and Meta platforms have announced a strategic partnership centered in Ohio aimed at exploring advanced nuclear power solution to support energy intensive data center operations. Guys, we don't have crystal balls, but we told you guys this. Like, it's crazy that it's actually like happening, man. Like, it's ridiculous. Meta's AI pushes driving massive electricity demand. Like, again, electricity demand. We talked about this. There's need to be another way to get those, to get that energy rather than the traditional way of doing it, right? So, Oculus SMR technology is going to offer us reliable 24/7 power, carbon-free energy, and on-site or near-site generation for data centers. Now, you might ask, like, why does Ohio matter, right? Ohio is like a U.S. center location. They have existing grid infrastructure and their business-friendly regulated environment. So, again, man, I'll pass it out to you, bro, because it's like you call OKLO when nobody even thought about OKLO at five below. Like I'm telling you, five below. We're talking about OKLO. If you look at that stock right now, you would not believe it. So yeah, man, hats out to you.
So I'll also say this too. So we saw a pretty substantial pullback in OKLO from where it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember people asking me when it was trading at like, 150, 140. They were like, should I get in? Should I get in? I was like, probably you probably want to wait it out.
Mm-hmm.
The one area that I've seen OKLO really find support is around that 200 EMA, 200 SMA area. And that's kind of where we sort of bottomed out at 70. Now we're back over 100. If you have been looking for an opportunity to get in and you missed it,
Yep. Yep.
again, to me, like I said, when it comes to infrastructure development and advancement in this country, it takes forever. And I think a lot of these big, large companies are like, we're not going to wait for the government
Right.
to expand the grid to meet our demands for power. We're going to take demands into our own hands. We saw Google make a strategic partnership with Intersect Power, buying in for about what 4.75 billion dollars, right?
Yep.
Saw that acquisition last year. Now you're seeing Oklo and Meta forming a partnership to deliver electricity. We've all said that the regulatory hurdles from the government when it comes to nuclear, all of those things have kind of been passed. All Oklo needs to do is execute on their plan. To me, this is still a long-term story,
Yep.
because again, we're not at a phase where they have a operational product yet. But if a trillion-dollar company like Meta is forming a partnership with Oklo, I keep saying this, like how somebody those are people that are in the building that are a lot smarter than me, that are going through all of the like Oklo's never pitched a product demonstration to me. So I've only gone by what I've read online and what I've done my research on. But Meta has said, okay, we see something here. Let's make an investment. And I know they've got other strategic partnerships that they've been building. I think was it South Korea was another strategic partner that they said that they're going to start doing business with.
Yep.
So when I start connecting the dots, I was like, this is speculative, but for $5 a share, I'll see what it does.
Yeah.
And we got from 5 to 193. We came back down to about 70. Now we're hovering above 105. To me, I think this is going to be one of the new drivers of power production over the next 10
Absolutely.
years, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely.
Again, I think this is a long-term story. And as
Yep.
long as the regulators are on board, as long as OKLO can execute on all of their fronts that they're promised, I don't see why this is not a long-term hold for me. I mean,
Yep. Yep.
and hopefully when they start getting revenue and the numbers start looking good, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
If this stock gets to $300 in 10 years, I'll be happy.
It's not gonna take 10 years. I will tell you that right now. The way to go from $5 last year to hit almost $200. Come
Pre-revenue.
on, bro. Come on. Like if they deliver and they execute on their plan,
Because the way I look at it, this is a new untapped technology.
yep,
Like this is something that's not common and it's still in its development phase.
yep.
And if you've been in our investor group, I did a whole presentation on SMR technology and why it's the new wave. And I've been saying that this is something that everybody needs to be aware of. I mean, Jensen Wong himself said SMR technology is the future. And
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if we hear something from OKLO and NVIDIA. Maybe NVIDIA is waiting until they see something tangible,
And yep,
but I would not be surprised over the next, call it 1 to 3 years, that NVIDIA and OKLO make some sort of partnership. Maybe,
absolutely.
maybe NVIDIA buys OKLO. I don't know.
You bro, like you never know. You never know. So we're
Because
about to witness a huge revolution when it comes to this
yeah,
whole energy stuff. So
I think that when it comes to energy, this is the new wave. This is the new wave.
yep,
So,
yep,
yeah, we'll see how this plays out. But I mean, so far so good. Even though we're off the highs, you know, with the company in this stage, that's fine with me. But I am 100% on board until they say something like, "Oh, we have to push back our product release till 2028," or something changes with the fundamental story. Then that might have to make me rethink. Maybe
some
not get out the
things.
position, but maybe resize my position.
Yep,
But
yep.
for now, and I've sold some. I'll say that I haven't gotten out of some of my position, but I am not out of that. I am not out of Aqua, not yet.
I mean, the way I'm thinking about it is this is kind of like you said, this is a huge opportunity, guys.
I
Like,
think so.
man, like if you think about all the technologies that we have today, like AI was the latest thing we saw, but literally the power is gonna be the biggest opportunity in the next 5 to 10 years. Like
Yep.
companies like Oklo who are in the forefront of those technology of those. Think about when Tesla or Apple or all these companies came up with all these new technologies, right?
Yep.
Oklo will probably be one of those the Teslas of nuclear energy. You know what I
I
mean?
think so.
So I'm telling y'all, man. So just man, if you can't see the writing on the wall, I don't know. Maybe we should send you out some smoke signal or something. I don't know,
I
bro.
think we're setting up smoke signals.
We need to do some Morse code next. I don't know, man. Something.
And I'm looking at the chart from February of no, this was April of last year. Yeah, the stock was down to $17. So you could have got in at 17 and you'd be extremely happy.
Yep.
So yeah, but I like what I'm hearing. I get on the earnings calls and I listen to what they're talking about. And like I said, until I hear something fundamentally has changed with the business, I'm gonna ride this wave. And
Yeah.
if it comes
Just
if it comes back down, I'll buy.
Yeah, just buy some more. Just buy some more. And we are gonna get some pullback, right? So that's inevitable. It's gonna
Correct. Yeah.
happen.
I mean,
It's
we've
gonna
came
happen.
down from 193 at the high down to 70.
Yep.
That's a pretty substantial pullback.
Yep. That's more than
So,
50%. Yeah.
yeah. So, can we come back lower than that? Possibly. But for now, 2027 is a big year for OKLO. And if we can just get through this year with no hiccups,
Yep.
2027, I call that's the judgment year. That's going to be the year where it says, you got to show me what
Okay.
you have.
Yeah. You gotta show me what
Yeah.
you got. What you got.
So,
Yeah. But another stock that we were hammering last year and even this year, part of last year, but even part of before, in 2024, I think we were talking about the same thing. Intel. Yo, y'all go
yeah.
look at Intel. Go look at Intel. I mean, we talked about this stock with Hammer. We'll give you guys all the reasons why it should be going. But Intel was in the news all week today, especially after the CES in the conference and all these different things. You can see that, people really are paying attention to it now. So it hit all-time high today. If you guys go look at it, is it today or yesterday?
Yeah, it not an all-time high, hit a 52-week high.
52-week high. So
Yeah,
go
52
look at
week
that
high.
stock, man. The way it's been moving, it's crazy. And we've been talking about it since it was like below $20. You know what I mean? So they are really doing a lot of AI and data center push, right? So if you think about, them actually getting involved in AI and data center, like they are really focusing on this is a turnaround story for this company. You know what I mean? So, and also the other thing is like they have a foundry business right now. If you don't know what a foundry business is, it's basically like when you start making chips for other companies, right? So you look like now Nvidia is partnering up with Intel. The other companies are partnering up with Intel. So it's like that actually is giving them an opportunity to kind of grab some more revenue from that. So again, man, a lot of restructuring is happening. They have really good cost discipline. So if they can prove that they can manufacture and scale and compete with the likes of TSM, I mean, it becomes a long-term infrastructure play for like, to build more than just legacy tech company because Intel is a legacy US company. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So again, yeah,
You also have to keep in mind too is that, this administration that they have been really big on is they want to kind of wean off of the dependency on Taiwan for chip manufacturing. So I really feel Intel will get whatever they need to compete
to compete.
with
Yeah,
Taiwan Semiconductor. And if Intel can show that they can deliver on the demands that a lot of these companies will need for their chip business, I really don't see why Intel, I mean, Intel's all-time high, I think, was what, 71? We're at 45. I wouldn't be surprised if they could, again, execution is always key when it comes to a company because you can make all the promises in the world, but you really got to execute properly. So if they can execute on all fronts, to me, I would not be surprised in the next 5 years if Intel starts to test that all-time high again. So, new leadership has changed the entire trajectory of this stock. Government backing has also changed the trajectory of this stock. So, this is a story that we will just continue to hopefully talk about and deliver. They've got a big earnings call on the 22nd of this month. So if you are curious about what the heck we're talking about, and jump on
yep.
that earnings call and listen to what they're doing because it looks like they are really, really pushing a new wave of, strategic development and partnerships moving forward. I mean, let me just give you an example that could happen. And I don't know if this is even possible, but this is just me going down the rabbit hole. NVIDIA has 700,000 of their H200 chips, right? That they have. China has China wants 2 million for 2026. I don't know how much China's going to need for 2027 or 2028 if they keep ordering them.
We keep ordering. Yep.
What if Nvidia goes to Intel and is like, okay, we just need you to produce 30% of this workload
Yeah.
because TSM is overworked.
Yep.
That could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could happen.
Mm-hmm.
What if Nvidia is like, the demand for these chips are so high, TSM is like, we can't meet the demand. So Nvidia goes to to Intel and says, "Can you
Can you
produce
help us
these?
out?
Can
Yep.
you help us out?" Boy, that
Yeah.
stock will fly.
Bro, the way it will move,
If they
like
get an actual signed contract from Nvidia and says Intel has now said that they're going to produce X amount of these, now probably not going to be the Blackwell, probably not going to be the Rubin, right?
just some
Probably,
type of partnership, man. Just some
yeah,
type.
probably not going to be some of their most advanced chip technology. But
Yep.
if Intel can take some of that workload off of TSM because Nvidia needs it, right? Because what if China says we need this by December? Like
We need
we
it right
need,
now. Yeah.
and Nvidia is like, where are we going to find the production? Because if TSM is backlogged, TSM's working with AMD, they're working with Apple, and they're like, we can't do it.
Hmm.
We've got a foundry business in Intel that might be able to take the workload. So
Yep. Yep. Yep.
if
Yep.
that does happen, remember where you
Listen,
heard it first.
you heard it here first.
Remember
you
where you heard it first. So
you heard it here first.
I'm banking on this story to continue. And man, Intel was one of the best performing stocks this week, man. I'm telling you,
It's amazing.
what a big move we've seen in the stock. A story that's really, really worked out. And if you don't know what we're talking about as far as turnaround story goes, I advise you to go look at the turnaround story with General Electric.
Yep.
Very similar situation.
Hmm.
Very, 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 very similar. And go look what that stock did between, I think it was like 2017 to like 2024. So
But Intel is moving a lot faster, so
a lot faster.
we'll see.
Yes. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh man, but another one of the most important stories in this market this week, like it didn't even come from big tech. I know we talk about Intel, we talked about energy and all this stuff. It come from small caps, man. The Russell 2000 actually outperformed both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite this week. I mean, it's like they just came out of nowhere and just like gone. You know what I mean? So are we seeing rotation that's under the surface that's happening, or is this a false move? I don't know. But if you look at the entire sectors, like go look at financials, what financials is doing, go look at industrials, go look at consumer discretionary, go look at energy materials. You see like money rotating into those smaller caps and it's just driving the market up. You know what I mean? So historically, when this started happening, right, it's either a signal like economic recovery. We don't know if this is actually going to be an economic recovery or periods when the Fed is easing or going to pause. So we shall see what's actually going to happen in the next few weeks, man. So let me get your input on just the participation when it comes to like the smaller caps this week, because I just see a big money rotating into those small caps.
Correct. I think that from a fund manager perspective, I think that they're looking at there's probably more bang for your buck in small caps than you're probably going to get with some of these larger cap names.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that large caps are a bad investment. They're more stable. They've got bigger revenue and things like that, right? But small caps are those hyper growth companies that are still in the early stages of growing, and they have really started to gain traction now that we are in a position where I feel people are more confident that rates are more likely to go down than they are to go up.
Yep.
Yes, unemployment is still there. It's higher than what people have expected. It's gone up, right? But I also think that from a cost perspective, that maybe AI is another driver that can make small caps more efficient, right? Where they can get done more, they can do more with less. So with interest rates going down, AI workloads providing some efficiencies with small caps, people are starting to look at growth opportunities with some of these companies. Some of them are, doing really, really well, and we're seeing the outperformance from the Russell early on this year. Now, whether this is something that happens throughout the entire year, we don't know yet, right? So we'll still have to wait and see because another arena that is, I kind of put it in a watch out for is regional banks.
Mm-hmm.
Small regional banks are a big part of small caps.
Yep.
And I've talked about regional banks and commercial real estate and private credit and all that stuff. If that goes bad, that can really, really hurt small caps. So just know that for sure, that small caps have a lot of exposure to regional banks.
Yep. Yep.
If that goes well and we don't see any big hiccups, I could see small caps outperforming for 2026. And I've said it, I've been on record saying it. I'm not saying it that it will, but it would not surprise me. I've upped my small cap allocation in my portfolio, my long-term portfolio.
Yep. Yep.
Usually I'm around like 10. I float anywhere between 10 and 5%. Now I'm going to like 12, 13% because I feel like there's a little bit more bang for buck there. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from small caps so far. It's only been 2 weeks for 2026. So
Right.
this
Right.
this could all change. And
Right.
just know if the market goes to you know what, small caps are gonna get hit the hardest.
Yep.
Also recognize
Absolutely.
that. So
Absolutely.
there's give and take on both sides when it comes to small caps. But I really like what I'm seeing because this is a sector that's been stuck in the mud for years.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So
So again, if small caps, really is moving, those are the places you should focus on, like the banks, some of the industrial names, some of the consumer names. So those are the ones you should focus on to get more money for your bucks. But again, man, IWM and even Russell 2000, like outperforming the big indexes is very um it's a very good thing for the market. We're not just seeing one side participating. You actually now we're seeing broader participation. So yeah. Man, so we have a breakdown today, man, for SanDisk. If you guys don't know what SanDisk is, I don't know if you guys remember those. People probably still have it, like the micro SD or those little memory chips, memory storage bank, flash storage that you use in your to store files and stuff. So SanDisk has become very, very important company. Go look at that chart right now, and it's no longer about just small storage. It's actually about they're moving into like critical training of AI models, high speed data access, cloud and hyperscaler infrastructure. So that puts SanDisk especially directly in that supply chain because somehow you need to store down memory somewhere. Even in the data center, you still have to have some type of storage, to be able to store those memories and stuff. So again, man, I think they're gonna move from away from maybe like smartphones and enterprise storage to actually doing like data center storage and AI infrastructure. So they are becoming a good part of that story right now. So Wale, man, I'll let you go do a deep dive into that company and let's talk about it.
so before we even get into SunDisk, year to date, SunDisk is up 44%.
Hold on, you
Year
say year to date, and this is the second week. No, this is the
year
first
to
week.
year to date. I think this is the first
This is
full
the
week.
first. This
The
yeah
first full week.
yeah.
SunDisk is up 44%,
That is ridiculous.
which is crazy. That is just crazy to me. I this stock hasn't been on my radar. I didn't really hear about it until late last year, but I mean, I have missed a golden opportunity. Um,
That's crazy,
so I will do my presentation on this stock and just go into what I've seen, and I can't justify the move based on the numbers, but I mean, what do I know? So let me share my screen, and then we'll jump into the presentation. All right, perfect. So we are taking a look at SunDisk, symbol S or SanDisk, SANDK. So this is a company that spun off from Western Digital last year. So the stock has only been trading on the public exchange for the last, call it what, less than 12 months. And some of these numbers, I usually like to go back to at least 2020 to see at least 5 years of data, but we don't have 5 years of data because this company was just recently spun off. But so far, they've got $7.78 billion in revenue. Their net income is still negative. So from a net income standpoint, they're not profitable. Current PE is 21.72 times. So this is a company that is growing, but it's unprofitable. So what is the key driver for why the stock is moving so substantially? And I'll get into that a little bit later. So SanDisk develops, manufactures, and sells data storage devices and solutions. NAND flash technology is what people call it. So these are the, your drives that go in SSD drives that for PCs, notebook, gaming, mobile, automotive, industrial, Internet of Things stuff. So it stores data, and then removable USB media. So like cards, USBs, etc. I actually am using a SanDisk. Actually, no, this is a Western Digital storage drive that I use. It's about 1 terabyte of memory that I back up all my data on just in case my computer goes bad. So they used to be part of Western Digital until they spun off. So their revenue model, so their products, SSD, embedded storage, and removable media, component and Wayfair sales, and they've got a mixed span of consumers, so OEMs and enterprise channels. Most of their gross margins are driven by NAND pricing, product mix, and utilization. And from what I'm understanding, the cost of memory is going up substantially. So maybe that's one of the, because if you look at how Micron is moving, Micron has said that there's a shortage in storage and that type of technology. So that might be why the stock is moving, is because the demand is here, but the supply is here. So therefore, it's really, so that might explain why, even though it's unprofitable, people are really trying to jump in this stock before, because the demand of their product is so high. All right, so let's jump into their primary customer group. So computer manufacturers are one of their bigger customers, and OEMs. Now they're starting to get into data centers. Billy talked about this. Data centers and private cloud customers are starting to become a bigger part of their business model. Cloud service providers, and then resellers, distributors, and retailers. Um, they do direct sales. They have partnerships and distributors, and they also have subsidiaries. End market exposure spans consumers, OEM, and enterprise. Public peers. So Western Digital is a peer of theirs. Again, they came off of Western Digital because Western Digital is kind of in that same business. Seagate Technology, also in that business. I used to have a Seagate hard drive way back in the day that actually went bad. I still have it in my in my drawer. And once it went bad, I kind of lost trust in Seagate, so that's why I went to Western Digital. Let me see if I still have it. Let's see. Let's It's probably buried somewhere in there. But yeah, I used to have this big Seagate, like huge, like storage component. Now those things are like this big. They basically can fit in your pocket now, and it has more memory. So the technology around like removable hard drive storage is really crazy. And if you don't have one, they're pretty cheap. And I would suggest, if you're someone who stores a lot of stuff on their computer, I would suggest that you buy one so that you don't lose all of your stuff. Micron is also another person that you can kind of, another company you can kind of put in that same group, with memory and semiconductors as their main business model. So let's look at the revenue. So this is one thing that surprised me is fiscal year 2022 revenue was well above $9.5 billion, 9.75 billion. They saw a significant drop in 2023. And this was before they went public. So they weren't trading on the exchange at that time. Then we're starting to see revenue growth from 2023 to 2024 to 2025. And then so far through the last trailing 12 months, you see revenue growth of 7.78 billion. So compounded annual growth rate, right, is negative mainly because of that huge drop from 2022 to 2023. But as of 2023, you can kind of see the revenue growth starting to gain traction again. So I'm assuming another key driver is that people are seeing the recovery and they're like, okay, this is a company that was at $9.5 billion in revenue at some point, right? They can probably get back to that stage if they continue to execute. And if there's continued demand for their product, we could probably see a company that gets to a $9.5 billion revenue number in the future. So pretty good stuff there. But again, I can't imagine seeing a stock with this type of hyper growth with these type of numbers personally, so I'm a little bit surprised by that. We look at their net income. So again, 2022, they were a profitable company, right? So they were 1.06 billion in net income with net margins in the positive. 2022 that went down. 2024 that went down. 2025 that also went down. Right now, net income is still fairly negative. So again, that's something that surprised me. I didn't expect to see this with a company that's growing at this growth rate, right? So at this point, it's almost like investors are, it's almost like a FOMO thing at this point, in my opinion, right? They're basically looking at growth at any cost. So the revenue growth is there if you look at it over the last couple of years, but the net income growth is not there yet. So something that did surprise me. Now, there are some other positives outside of net income that I did want to point out. So we're looking at operating income, right? Operating income is getting, in the positive, still well off where they were in 2022. So maybe people are using the 2022 as a measuring stick of where they can get back to, saying that this company can get back to this level, but we want to just buy it now and we just figure they'll figure it out. So operating margins were really good in 2022, but that has gone down. Now, if you look at 2024 and 2025, and so far if you look at 2024, 2025, and so far up until October of 2025, you can see that those margins are starting to improve. So that could be another reason why companies are like, okay, we're seeing margin improvement. Let's just buy the stock. Because again, going from 6.89 to hopefully 12.47, a long ways ahead. But is it doable? Possible. So, that could help the stock a lot. Another thing that I saw was free cash flow is pretty good. So, let me talk about efficiencies here. So, their free cash flow is only about $200 million away from where they were when they were a $9 billion revenue company. That tells me that they did something that made them a little bit more efficient. So $516 million in free cash flow with revenues of about 7.7 billion compared to 741 million dollars of free cash flow at 9 billion tells me that they've gotten more efficient. So this could also be another thing that investors are looking at, is that the free cash flow generation so far in this year and in 2025 has pretty much increased substantially. Even though it was negative, but going from negative 932 to negative 947 to negative 120, and then up until October of last year, they went positive in free cash flow. That tells, and this is on less revenue. That's another thing that tells me about efficiencies that are happening within the company. That's a good omen. And that could be why we're seeing such a big move in this stock. We look at their valuation. So I don't have a trailing PE for this company. We don't have enough data, but we've got a forward PE of 21.72. Western Digital has a current trailing PE of 29.06 with a forward PE of 24. Micron forward PE is 9.9. So from a forward PE measuring stick, and you compare them to their competitors, they're not in a bad place. Micron's 9.19 forward PE is actually really low. That's another stock that I feel I've missed that had a really, really good year last year as well. All of these names, if you go look at their charts from 2025, I think all of them were up at least 150% last year. All of them. STX, WDC, SDNK, and MU. So trailing PE is, forward PE is basically looking at their evaluations, looking at on a forward basis, and at 21.72, that's not a bad place for a technology stock. So maybe investors are also saying from a forward PE spot, this is cheap. So we're going to continue to buy the stock. Let's look at assets and liabilities. So when you look at their assets, total value is about $12 billion, almost $13 billion in assets. This is also very, very good. Look at the assets to liability ratio. I mean,
Hmm.
substantial difference. So this is a company that is growing revenues, growing free cash flow, that is not highly levered. Very, very good metric when you're looking at a company that's growing at a big scale is that they don't use a lot of debt to grow. Huge for good companies.
Mm-hmm.
We look at their cash equivalents. So, they got a good amount of cash on hand. You look at their cash to total liabilities ratio, very good. Quick ratio, very good. Debt to equity, very good. And then debt to assets, also very good. So, debt to equity is 0.22. This is well below the 2.0 and debt to assets. This is well below 2.0, and then also debt to assets, which is 15.93, is well below 70. So based on these thresholds, SNDK does not screen as heavily levered. So these are my metrics and screens that I use. And so far, they pass the test with flying colors as far as looking at companies that are heavily levered. So basically, what we're looking at is revenue cycle is cyclical and sensitive to NND pricing and end market demand. So right now, the pricing for these products are going up. So that's probably what is driving some of their revenue growth. Operating income has improved to positive in fiscal year 2025, so indicating better gross margins, better control. So again, better efficiencies. People are seeing that. Net income still negative despite positive operating income. So, this is something that needs to improve in my opinion. Free cash flow sprung from negative to positive on a trailing 12-month basis, which is key quality of earnings signal to monitor. So that's something that I will continue to take a look at. We look at consensus out there. These are some of their price targets. This is from stockanalysis.com. Strong buy for most analysts. So this is something that people are very, very high on. The average price is 248. I don't know where they're trading at now. I didn't look at the chart, but I'll go back and take a look. But the high is 410 on the street. So yeah, so far so good. This is a summary of everything we've discussed. To me, I think the biggest thing of what's driving this company's growth right now is you look at their comparison to their peers. They're not overpriced on a forward PE basis. It's not a heavily leveraged company that's growing very rapidly. The demand and supply for their product is there. And now that they're shifting a lot of their focus on data centers rather than like individual PCs and customers like myself, like B2C. They're now focusing on a lot of B2B. That has really, really driven the growth of this company. So yeah, I had to do my research because again, this is one that I missed. I did not hear
Mm-hmm.
about this. I didn't hear
Mm-hmm.
about this one until late last year. I was so focused on OKLO, which I can't be mad at, but this is a name that I did not have on my radar in 2025, and so far the results are showing that people are still bullish on this stock.
When I mean they just it looking at the chart, it looks like they just IPO last year anyway in January.
Yeah, they
So
spun off from WDC. Yeah, so
right.
they were a spinoff, kind of like GE Vernova spun off of GE.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
an that's another stock that's also done very, very well.
Oh yeah, I just don't understand GE Vernova just yet. It's the way they move is crazy, man. So it's a big company.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, that is a nice breakdown. Honestly, the more I think about storage, like I kind of joked a little bit last week about like storage, possibly like looking for storage under the sea, on the moon, somewhere. But it's becoming a reality. We are a generation that hoarding information, and we
correct.
need to store that information somewhere. You know what I mean? If you think about the progression of things, people go from oral traditions to written traditions to storing it somewhere on the walls. The walls didn't couldn't hold all the information. Now we started storing it in computers. We had giant computers who went from I don't know from those huge discs. I don't know if you guys remember the hard disk, the floppy disks to CDs to I mean like we are definitely evolving when it comes to like the amount of information we need to store, and it's becoming really, really critical. I'll put this on the top just like with data centers to be able to hold information. Also, with I put it up there with like trying to like figure out energy to run those data centers, right? As we becoming more and more holders of information, the reason why we need data centers is to store this information. You know what I mean? And in order for you to store information, you need to build more data centers. And in order for you to build more data centers and to run it efficiently, you need more energy. So it's like all of those things are connected when it comes to like the whole infrastructure of this thing. So it's like with AI now becoming a big time. I know we keep talking about AI. People probably sick of hearing about AI, but AI is storing a lot of data. You know what I mean? It cannot erase AI is it builds on top of already existing information. So
It
those
built and
information,
correct. And as you said, it continues to build.
yes, and it needs to hold on to old information in order to figure out what the new information is. So it's
Correct.
like we have to store those data somewhere. You know what I mean? So those data storage companies are becoming very, very, very critical. Very, very, very critical. You know what I mean? If you can't have a data center, so when we start talking about phones and stuff, if you want to run AI on your phone and to actually be able to hold your information, your data on your phone, you need a better storage. So that's going to be another thing that's you're probably going to start paying for phone, not just to use the phone, but actually the storage of the phone. So start thinking about that a little bit. Your phone bill
Man,
probably is going to go up a little bit. So
I'm
with that
trying
being
to
said, man, like
I'm
it's
trying to give me
crazy.
1 second. I'm trying to find this. Let me find this if I can find this big O. I just want to show you how technology has changed. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. All right. So a couple years ago, this is from Seagate. This was my
Yo, that thing is
external
giant.
this was my external hard drive that I
What's
use.
a terabyte on that?
I think this one was only 500, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is a Seagate. I had to get it repaired because I had a I had a lot of data on here that I didn't want to lose, and
Yeah.
I had to send it in for them to repair. But this is what I think 500 megabytes of storage looked like, and this was probably back in it might have been like 2014, 2015.
Uh-huh. But think about it though.
This is what it looks like now.
Yeah,
This is 1 terabyte.
that's what I have. This is 1 terabyte.
Exactly. Look at the difference in technology.
Right. It's crazy. It is
It's crazy,
crazy.
right? So, and this one that I have is from Western Digital.
Yep.
So the more I think about it, as you said, when you think about AI models, I don't think that they have the luxury of being able to delete the old data either
No, you can't. You can't. You need the old data in order to build on
because it's
that's
learning. It's
yeah,
learning from previous
that's what
pieces of
the
information.
that's what that learning language model LLM, that's
Correct.
exactly what it's
Yeah.
doing. It's building knowledge on top of existing knowledge in order for it to create it can't create knowledge out of thin air. So it needs to take a cumulative of all your knowledge that you put in order to figure out what's to give you based on that data. So we
Gotcha.
have to store it somewhere. We have to store it somewhere. And I'm
Man.
just and this is just learning language, man. Like now we go from so if you think about like maybe like 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? You probably didn't as a personal person, you probably didn't need to store a lot of energy. I mean a lot of information. Now photos, documents,
Yeah.
songs, all
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
things. As I'm just talking about you as a person, you go from maybe like needing maybe like 500 megabyte or whatever to now you need terabytes to store all your information. Think about
That's true.
documents, yeah, documents for your family that you need to keep. You need more storage now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's becoming a really, really it's gonna be a real crisis real soon. And I'm telling y'all, this is gonna be that other thing. Whoever's gonna figure out a solution for how to store more information in a smaller space, and that's the thing. This what Wale just showed you right now, it needs to get smaller. You know what I mean? Like that needs to get smaller. It needs to get way, 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 way more tinier.
And remember, I know everybody. I mean, I everybody probably had to do this back in the day when you would like do a paper in high school or something. You would save it on your USB drive, right?
Yep.
Those same USB drives, the memory just kept expanding.
Kept expanding.
The size didn't get bigger,
Yep.
but the memory. I mean, I got a whole photo album for my parents' 40th anniversary from Walgreens. I couldn't have been able to store that on a regular USB, 10 years ago. Probably not.
Nope.
I probably need
Nope.
like three, four, or five of them things.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So, man, as I keep saying, man, invest where the world is
It's
going,
going.
not
Yes.
where we're currently are. So, you
That's
know,
where opportunity lies. That's
yeah,
where
that's where
opportunity
opportunity
lies.
lies. So
Yeah.
storage, it sounds like storage and memory storage is a real big potential bottleneck out there. And the
That's
companies that are executing on those fronts, we just gave you Micron, SanDisk, we gave you Western Digital, and we
yep.
gave you Seagate.
Yep.
Now, all of these names, right, have had explosive moves. So maybe you don't want to chase it at these levels, but put it on your watch list. And in case we get a substantial pullback, that might be a place where you get an opportunity.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And if you got money, man, shoot, go ahead and start your own data centers because I'm telling you, that's where the money's gonna be in the next few years. You know what I mean? As we need more and more space for information and to store those information. So again, the world is moving a rocket. I don't even say rocket. It's moving at lightning speed right now.
It's
Like
it's moving at it's moving at a real quick pace.
yep.
Now, I also want to put this out there because I don't like the word. People keep talking about an AI bubble.
Mm,
And I said this before. Bubbles are things that are growing with no substance.
right.
Remember, when you think of a bubble, there's nothing in there but air. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they call it a bubble.
Bubble. Yep.
When it comes to AI, this is not a bubble. But I will say this, could people be overestimating the need? Yes, but that doesn't
Yes.
make it a bubble. So
Right.
this is basic. So let me give you an example, and I probably said this before. Let's just say you say I'm going to have a Super Bowl party, and I am expecting 200 people, and that party comes, and only 150 people show up, and you ended up spending way more than you needed.
Yep.
That doesn't make it a bubble. You just overestimated what you thought you needed.
Mm,
So people right now are trying to gauge what the need will be, what the workload will be, what the demand will be for AI. And they're just creating estimates.
yep.
That's all they're doing. And when you overshoot, and let's just say you don't hit the estimate, then you get retraction, right? So go back to the Super Bowl example. So the next time I have a Super Bowl party and I'm expecting 200 people, I might only say, okay, I'm only going to spend money for 120 people.
Yep.
But then I might spend for 120 people, and let's just say 160 show up, but not 200. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, I didn't have enough.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. People don't know what the future holds. They're making estimates. Those estimates could overshoot.
Mm-hmm.
They could also undershoot.
Yep.
We just don't know yet. But it's not a bubble because these are companies that are investing real revenue and real dollars in something they feel that they need.
Yep.
So that's why I don't like the word bubble because remember, a bubble has no substance. So overestimation, possibly, only time will tell. So I'll just leave it at that. Don't use the word bubble when it comes to AI. But I
Yeah.
know,
Please
I
don't.
know, I know bubble is the hype word that gets you the most clicks and stuff. So I guess that's why people say it. So whatever.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
I want to give you all accurate information why I don't like that word and why it doesn't make sense when it
Yep.
comes to AI. So
Yeah, and it scares people too. You know what I mean? Like if you're not
exactly, that's
educated,
true.
it
That's
scares you.
true. It does
You
it
know?
scare you. It does scare people. That's
Yeah,
right. So maybe it's a fear tactic. I don't know.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, yeah. But man, this was a great breakdown, man. I think again we talked about power. We talked about data centers. We're talking about storage, which is going to become more and more needed as we go down the road. All of those things, I promise you, all of those things they all work together. They're not separate. They all work together. You need power to run your data centers. You need data centers to be able to have your storage. You need storage to be able to store information. So it's like all of those things are together. And AI cannot expand without data center, without power, and all those different things. They're all connected. They're all connected. Your job is to figure out companies that are benefiting from these different things that we just mentioned that supports the ecosystem of AI and all that stuff. So again, just keep an eye on that.
Yep. And I'll
But
say that, and I'll say this again. Not every company that uses the word AI says they use AI is gonna make it. So
nope.
make sure you do your due diligence. Oh my
Yep.
goodness. And I didn't look at this. Go look at APLD today.
Oh man, don't tell me. This thing's probably gonna hit 2,000 soon.
Go look at APLD today.
Ooh. APLD, that's the real estate, isn't the real estate, right?
That's the Applied Digital. That's the real estate company.
It broke a really good, yeah, it broke a really good structure that was holding for a while. So, yep, I like the way it closed too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Again, that's another company that Wale did a breakdown on too. So
yeah,
I'm telling
and
you,
and and
man.
the thing was when we talked about it, it was at like 17,
Yeah, it
and
was, yeah.
and then it went to like 40, and then when
Uh-huh.
it pulled back, I wasn't paying attention.
But it just broke a major resistance, you know. So,
Yeah, maybe this thing goes back to 40.
yep,
Yeah, we'll see.
man. I'm telling you, man. Some is brewing, and there's a lot of opportunities. You just gotta know where to be.
Yeah.
Um, Next week's calendar, man, we have U.S. inflation data and CPI and PPI. We have retail sales that's coming up. We have some global growth numbers from China and Europe that's coming up, and I think the Fed commentary of this next week. So again, keep an eye on those numbers, man. I think what is PPI? PPI is on Wednesday the 14th. CPI is on Tuesday the 13th. Those are going to be important numbers to keep an eye on to see exactly how the market is going to react to those numbers.
I also say the 14th might be the ruling from the Supreme Court about the tariffs as well.
Mm.
That's another big announcement everybody waiting on.
But you
So
know what's gonna happen though. The same time ruling is happening, you know, my boy Trump is gonna be out there talking. So I
he
promise
gonna,
you,
he gonna be very active on Twitter.
he's gonna hold his own conference and he's gonna throw a wrench in the whole thing. So
Yeah, we'll see what the ruling says though.
yep. But with that being said, man, Wale, in the last minute, man, before we go wrap up this week.
Nah, I'll keep telling people, man, join our investment group because you get your first week for free.
Yep.
You don't have to. You don't have to. And if you look at some of the trades that we discussed this week, we saw Target move from $100 to about 108, 8% move on Target.
Yep.
I just closed a 200% gain position on Boeing from last week.
Yes, sir.
Um, right now, I'm still in some Chipotle calls right now that are up 60 plus percent. What's another one that we talked about today or this week? Kava was another one we saw made a $10 move from 62 to 72 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we keep it real simple in the group, man. No complex stuff. We just looking for breakouts over critical levels. The algorithm tells you what levels to look for. All we're looking for is strong breakouts and strong momentum for breakouts or breakdowns if we're bearish. But yeah, man, if you haven't joined the group, if you've been looking for a group to join where there's not a lot of noise and a lot of hype, just quality information, join the group, man. Because like I said, I think I'll probably I have to ask them permission to post it though. But year to
Mm.
date, we have someone in our group. I think their portfolio is up 800% this year.
This year alone?
This year.
7 days. That's ridiculous.
I'm gonna ask them for permission to post their year to date gains before I post it. I usually
that's
like to ask people for permission first.
that's
Um,
ridiculous.
but I think yeah, 800%
That's crazy.
in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's crazy. That is crazy. Come join the team.
Yeah, join the team.
Come
That's
join the
all.
team.
That's all I'm gonna say.
What did Shook Knight say? If you don't want your producers doing all in the videos,
On the death row.
I'm I'm telling y'all, man, we have so much fun. So I hope you
Yeah,
guys will join us, man. I hope you guys will jump on. Another thing that we're working on is I'm really trying to expand our reach a little bit when it comes to the show and stuff. So I might be turning some of those episodes that we have into actual episode. I mean, podcasts that we featured on Spotify and iTunes and all those different things, just to be able to reach a broader market and stuff. So again, if you guys can catch it on YouTube, sooner or later, you guys are going to be catching us on Spotify or iTunes or one of your whatever you listen your podcast into. So
yeah.
I'll keep you guys updated and let you know exactly when that's going to drop.
Yeah, our goal is to just give people quality investment information that they can
Yep.
actually use.
Yep.
That's the goal. Not trying to say any hype, not trying to, you know, we may not be as entertaining as some other people, but if you look at the quality of the information that we have given you
Quality.
over the last 12 months, I'll say that I don't think a lot of people have given you that much quality information because we can just go down the list. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
I mean, you just look at OKLO and Intel, right?
Yep. Those two.
Those two alone,
Yep.
kind of
And the
the
thing that we
proofs in
missed
the
on,
pudding.
the stuff we missed on, no, whether it's to be FLD or Boeing, we missed on
Boeing,
Boeing
yeah,
last
we
year. I
missed
mean,
on Boeing last year. Boeing has
yep,
been a real good one.
yep,
So,
yep,
we'll try to at least once a week, I'll try to make sure that I give you guys at least some sort of stock analysis. If you have a specific stock that you want me to do an analysis on, drop it in the comments and then hopefully I can get to those stocks and do the analysis for you and we can do it on the show. So
yep, yep,
appreciate all
yep.
the support so far.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Again, man, stay disciplined and remember, man, risk is everything. And we'll catch you guys next week. And yeah, we'll hopefully bring you more and more value and all the stuff. With that being said, y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. If you go out tonight, be safe in this weather. All right, y'all. Have a good weekend.